In an era of shifting geopolitical tides, a new narrative is emerging on the global stage. The balance of power is tilting as Russia and China step into the spotlight, rewriting the rules of international engagement. Today, we delve into the seismic changes rippling across the geopolitical landscape as the European Union sounds a warning call to the West. This warning echoes from the heart of Europe to the furthest reaches of the emerging world. Amidst the hustle and bustle of economic activities and global trade, Russia and China are playing a strategic symphony that's changing the very foundations of international relations. It's not just about trade and currency anymore. These two nations are weaving ties across continents, creating a web of connections that challenges the established norms. The effects: a potent threat to the traditional operations of the United States and its Western allies. Join us as we traverse this quickly changing terrain, decoding the complexities of Russia and China's rise, the West reaction, and its major consequences felt throughout the world. The world is at a crossroads, and the decisions made today will shape the destiny of nations for generations to come. But before we go any further in this video, we ask you that you hit that like button and subscribe to Tech Revolution. With that said and done, let's dive right in. As the pendulum of power swings, partnership once considered steadfast are facing erosion. The West's grip on alliances and relationships is loosening, while nations around the world are turning their gaze towards Moscow and Beijing. So the heads over at the European Union's influential lending arm are sounding the alarm bells. Why, you ask? Well, it seems like the West is in danger of losing the trust and faith of countries in the global South. You know, those countries are not always in the spotlight. Werner Hoyer, who is the president of the European Investment Bank, has been speaking up loud and clear. He's been watching the recent BRICS summit in South Africa, where the leaders from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa gathered. Russia and China's influence has been observed over this bloc as they hold power as one of the founding members of the organization. Now, this wasn't just any old get-together. It was all about these nations huddling up and strategizing their moves, making decisions that could potentially shift the balance of power on the international scene. They're talking about their new development bank, the BRICS Bank, to the next level. They're eyeing a big spot at the table of international lenders, potentially giving the established Western institution a run for their money. This move is sending a clear message that they're ready to reshape the game. From boosting economic ties to discussing strategies for dealing with global challenges, you can bet that this summit was full of intense discussions, handshakes, and maybe even a bit of a friendly banter. With these major players coming together, it's like watching a high-stakes chess match unfold, with the world as the game board, especially considering that they are led by Russia and China. So in a nutshell, this BRICS summit down in South Africa was a pivotal moment where these five nations mapped out their game plan for the future. Keep your eyes peeled for the ripple effects of the decisions made during this summit. They're bound to shape the world stage in unexpected ways. And that is what the West is getting worried about. They're trying to turn their new development bank, that's the BRICS Bank, into a major player, possibly giving the established Western lenders a run for their money. The BRICS Bank is seen as a way for the BRICS countries to increase their influence in the global economy and to provide an alternative to the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. The bank has been praised for its focus on infrastructure and sustainable development, and it is expected to play a growing role in the global economy in the years to come. Some of its notable projects include the Trans-Asian Railway Network, which will connect Asia with Europe, the South African Renewable Energy Program, which will help South Africa to increase its use of renewable energy, and the Brazil-Bolivia Integration Pipeline, which will transport natural gas from Bolivia to Brazil. Hoyer says this should make us sit up and pay attention. Here's the deal. More and more smaller developing countries, especially in Africa, are starting to give the nod to China and other rising stars instead of the usual Western go-tos for support. Hoyer, chatting with Reuters, said that this would be raising eyebrows. The European Investment Bank is one of those places folks are turning to. With financial backing from the EU's 27 countries, it's got the biggest stash among all the multilateral development banks globally. And get this, every year it sends around 10 billion euros, that's about $10.8 billion, to help out developing nations through its EIB global arm. Hoyer isn't holding back either. His words pack a punch. He's the first high-ranking EU official to seriously talk about the efforts of the BRICS countries to shake up the status quo. These countries want to build a strong team to balance out the West on the global stage. Hoyer points out that the growing number of countries playing it neutral when it comes to Russia's Ukraine escapades is a red flag. It's telling us that the West's trust card isn't as strong as it used to be. And hey, let's not forget those United Nations gatherings. They've been having votes that make it pretty clear. The West needs to step up its game if it doesn't want to lose its fan base in the global South. Hoyer's words are ringing in the ears, reminding us that action and visibility are the names of the game if we want to keep everyone on board. The upcoming UN meetings happening next month are shaping up to be quite the opportunity for Western institutions to step up and show they're ready and willing to provide a bigger hand of support to countries in need. Now here's the scoop. The BRICS group is gaining some major traction and their bank is turning into a real contender. Why the sudden spotlight? Well, a bunch of developing countries are feeling a bit left out in the cold by the West. They're grappling with COVID-19, piling debts, soaring energy costs, and the big challenge of climate change. Hoyer's putting it straight. It's time for Western players to roll up their sleeves. Since then, some new faces have joined the party, like Bangladesh, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. And guess what? More countries like Algeria, Argentina, Ethiopia, Honduras, Iran, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, and Zimbabwe are all in the pipeline to become members. Other sources even mention that at least 40 countries have mentioned their desire to join Russia and China in the BRICS. To join BRICS, countries must meet certain criteria such as having a large population, a growing economy, and a commitment to free trade. The BRICS countries will need to unanimously approve any new members. The potential expansion of BRICS is seen as a way to increase the influence of the group on the global stage. It would also give the BRICS countries a larger market for their goods and services. Only time will tell if any of these countries that have expressed interest in joining BRICS will be successful in their bids. However, the fact that so many countries are interested in joining the group is a sign of its growing importance in the global economy. Hoyer's got a point to make, and it's got a big one. He's saying that the rise of this bank isn't just about banking. It's a sign of something bigger. Europe and Western institutions need to get their game faces on and tackle things head on. From greening up our energy game to facing the mountain of debt and those glaring health gaps, there's a lot at stake. Bottom line, if the West wants to steer clear of a rough patch, it's time to offer some real teamwork and find better ways to tackle the challenges that the global South is grappling with. As Hoyer puts it, unless they're in this together, they might just find themselves in a bit of a pickle. And that's a wrap, my friend. We've explored the ever-evolving chessboard of global geopolitics, where Russia and China are making some bold moves that are shaking up the status quo. From trade to currency and forging new ties, they're painting a new picture on the canvas of international relations. The West's traditional ways are facing a formidable challenge, and alliances are shifting in ways we never imagined. And here's where we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this changing landscape? Do you see Russia and China's rise as a game changer? Or do you think the West can hold its ground? Are the global partnerships shifting in favor of new players? Or will the West find its footing once again?